Right now, we are about to have a conversation. If you're a techie, tech guru, lover of tech or fintech, this conversation is for you. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy. So we're about to talk about the 3i Africa Summit, which is one of the biggest fintech summits in Africa. That's going to be happening here in Accra. And in the studio with us is Kwame Opong. He's the Director, Fintech and Innovation Office of the Bank of Ghana. Hi, Kwame.
Hello.
How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's
All
good
right.
to have you here again.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So we're talking about 3i Africa Summit. First of all, what's the I? Or who are the 3 I's?
Thank you very much. So one of the things that we've been focused on as part of our intent to help develop the opportunities that digitization has on the continent is innovation. Now, the great innovations that are happening here in Africa and here in Ghana, actually, in every part of Ghana, not just Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, Tamale, Takwa, everywhere, we're finding amazing innovations that, with the right investment, can actually scale to provide services both locally and internationally. And if you look at the journey of fintech, whether by banks or by non-banks like mobile money providers, it has helped us achieve some policy objectives, such as financial inclusion. So look what mobile money has done, and look what the amazing innovations coming over the last few years have done to our policy objectives in terms of transparency, etc. So that's why we're having that conference. So it's really innovation, investment, and impact. And I should also mention that one of the challenges that we've seen in Africa is that often the type of capital that flows into our innovation sector comes in from the impact side, looking at SDGs, looking at financial inclusion. But the reality is, you actually need a bigger source of capital, private capital, investing in some of these innovations to get the impact that you want. And so we're trying to have a conversation that rewires the circuit appropriately so that the innovations get the investment and we get the impact that we want as a society.
Right. But is this the first time this summit is happening?
This is a major event. In fact, it's been conceived since before COVID. And so we're excited to finally be able to host it here in Accra.
Right. So, like, what is the main expectation that you are looking for or the outcome of this event?
So I think the first thing is something that has been missing in conference after conference. Frankly, if you listen to some of these conversations or you go to many of these conferences, it typically is a good conversation. But often it's in parallel, right? Either it's regulators talking to regulated entities or regulators talking to central banks, talking to multilateral and development partners, or the innovators talking to the investors. But all three people or stakeholders never really come together to really have a productive dialogue as to how we move the ball forward. So we thought bringing these three parties together would be the most impactful discussion that we can use in moving policy forward. That's one. The second thing as well that I think we should expect the 3i Summit to do is actual tangible outcomes. I think there are ideas and a lot of ideas about how to move Africa forward. Can we actually start taking concrete steps on how to actually action some of these ideas? So one of it, for instance, is there's a deal room. We've invited over 200 investors who will be coming into Ghana, and there's a book of entities and startups from across the continent, I should mention, who are seeking investment at this 3i Summit, and they'll be engaging investors there, in addition to the Pitch Fest and all the other investor-related and deal-related activities.
I see. So you're going to have like a mini Shark Tank or Dragon's Den.
Precisely.
Okay. Sounds exciting. Right now, sometimes people feel as though these events, more of a talk shop kind of thing and everything else, how is this going to be different? So that, of course, you mentioned about the fact that investors are actually coming, as well, so people can walk away with real substance. But talk to us about what you've done and how you've designed it so that it's different from just like a talk shop.
Certainly. I think even before the main conference opens, we're having an invite-only engagement with central bank governors from across the continent in the key markets. And this is really an opportunity for investors to speak to central banks and regulators about the constraints, the challenges for which they cannot invest as much as they could in African businesses in the fintech space. And when I say fintech, by the way, it's not just the small startups, it's also the larger tech companies and banks and financial services. the reality is the future is tech.
Yeah.
So today, if you take you take a bank and
Yeah.
you take a...
All the banks have gone fintech
Exactly,
right now.
they've all gone fintech.
Because
So
they're
it's-
all on the phone.
Exactly. So it's about the concept of fintech. So really bring them to the table to have an open dialogue. What is the constraint? How can we
How
help
can we
you?
help?
And what is indeed what our concern is, from a governance perspective and all these other issues, and find a middle ground so we can improve policy and the policy environment so we can see a lot more capital flow. And on the other hand as well, of course, as I mentioned, there are going to be actual deal rooms and pitch fests, and the pitch fest is for startups who have great ideas to come and pitch for an award. It's about $10,000 from our sponsors. But the idea there is to also give an opportunity for even smaller startups with ideas to really come and speak to what they think they can do
Right.
and get an award. The other thing I should add is we're also going to have a founders peak. This is where successful entrepreneurs on this continent will come and share their journey.
Okay.
That entrepreneurship
Wow.
journey in Africa is not easy.
That's all.
It is pains, it is smiles, but often it's more pain than smiles, which comes later. And it's important that you get people the opportunity to interact with those who've been successful and be able to embolden them so they can proceed and progress in pursuit of whatever
Right.
their objectives are.
All right, so what are some of the areas or topics that the summits will be looking at, and also how are these areas relevant to the everyday Ghanaian?
Okay, so there are many interesting areas that will be discussed. And one of the things that we're trying to do is not make this a tech conference from the conversation perspective, because that's how you lose the whole country and the whole society. When you talk about things like AI, artificial intelligence, people do not even realize your daily life
Yeah.
is now integrated with AI,
Yeah,
from
true.
your phones, your tablets, to everything you're doing. How is it being used responsibly? How are you protected as a consumer so your data is not abused? And how can it be used to positively impact you? For instance, if I'm an SME, how can it help me access a loan? Perhaps without collateral, which is a big challenge for our MSMEs, for instance. There's also a focus on MSMEs during this discussion, how we can use technology to enhance the businesses and growth of MSMEs in Africa and Ghana in particular. We'll be having discussions about agricultural technologies that can help, again, our agricultural sector be more productive. And these conversations go on from financial inclusion and even finally, digital public infrastructure.
Right.
So that when people are either innovating or people want to be able to get access to government services or all the conveniences that we need, the underlying infrastructure is there to help really transform our society. So these are the things that we've invited speakers, about 240 speakers from around the world are actually coming. And we have more than 4,000 registered speakers, participants who are also coming from 79 countries. And we expect that we will have a healthy dialogue and discussion to learn from each other. And from a Ghana perspective, be able to start considering how we can also adopt some of these practical and beneficial approaches that other countries have successfully deployed.
Now, when they say go big or go home, you've literally done that. Go big or go home. I mean, 240 speakers plus 4,000 participants. That is just, and this is a maiden. What?
It's a maiden event.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
I was actually surprised
Go big
because
or go home.
last month somebody reached
Yeah.
out to me. I was like, "Oh, do you know about the tree?" I'm like, "What's that?" He was like, "I'm coming all the way from Texas just for it."
Wow.
I'm like, "Okay,
That's
what's
a-
so when?"
that's
so
amazing.
so when I saw the ads, I was like, "Oh, this is it."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so give us the biggest takeaway you would want people to walk away from this summit with.
I think for most people, first of all, this is not a conference you should miss. Whether you're interested in the space, whether you're already in fintech, whether you're in the financial sector, and I should even mention creatives. Our creative community, I learned very, very recently the deep integration and interconnectivity between tech and the creative community.
Yes.
And this has become a new passion that I've adopted because tech is going to be our lives. It's going to be in every aspect of our foreseeable
Definitely.
future.
Yeah.
Africa by 2030 is going to have the fastest growing fintech ecosystem, and the population between 15 and 24 is going to have the fastest growth. This is where things are going. This is our future and opportunity. So whatever you do, it is important that you participate to ensure that whether it's your business interest, it's a social passion, ESG discussions are going to be had, that you can be there to make the right partnerships get the right business opportunities, and also inform policy as
Yeah.
the key policy makers
Right.
will be present. And our great sponsors and partners, including MTN, GCB, Fidelity Bank, CBG, Insano, IT Consortium, PwC, all these are coming together, and a lot more actually coming from all around the world, including some blockchain providers
Yes.
and
Oh, wow.
big tech companies.
Yeah.
We have, in fact, when you go on our website, 3i.org, africa.org, you're going to see an array of speakers and institutions that will be participating that I think will give people a sense of why they need to be there and really be able to take maximum opportunity and advantage of this.
Okay.
Okay, so the dates, the times, give us the whole scoop.
Sure. So the 3i Summit will start on the 13th of May, which is this coming Monday, to the 15th. And during that period, there will be an opening ceremony the first day with several high-profile speakers. But most importantly, there will also be a set of mini conferences in one, because there are different focus
Yeah.
areas for which people are coming to really help move the needle on. There will also be some social networking activities, because one of the things that we notice is that when we have some of these conferences, it's a bit rigid and formal,
Yeah.
right? And so there are innovators who really want to be able to have
That connection.
connection with whether it's policymakers or regulators in a more relaxed environment. And so there are some social events that are held in the evening with, again, the creative community
Yeah.
playing a big role in
Yeah.
that, so that you can have a further conversation about what idea it is you have and perhaps speak with that regulator in country X or Y about it in a more relaxed environment. The second thing is we also have, within that same period, we've actually created a sandbox just for this 3i. So there are innovators from around the continent who will be showcasing their products. So as a conference participant, you can actually register and use some of these products while you're at the conference to pay for food and buy things at a digital village,
Amazing.
where again, made in Africa products are going to be sold.
So it's
So
basically
from-
like testing even their innovations. Yeah.
Because the truth that I have noticed in all my experience across the different seats at the table, it's one thing to read about an innovation,
And it's another
that gives
thing,
you an
yeah.
idea of it. But when you actually use it, that speaks to you about what that product is.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time we break those barriers and dig a bit deeper and sort of integrate ourselves a bit more.
Right.
And the final event on the final day, in addition to the various conversations, there will also be a social activity in the evening to sort of wind down things. One of the things that we cannot miss out on is the real tourism opportunity that Ghana presents.
Yeah.
And if we have this many people and thousands
Coming
of people
here,
coming into
true.
Ghana, it's important that we show both our hospitality as well as the tourism, the amazing tourism and entertainment aspect of Ghana, which we all see every December. So this is that opportunity as well that we're working together with stakeholders like the Ghana Tourism Authority to ensure that we can give our guests a bit of an experience of Ghana so they'll keep coming
Good.
back.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it free?
The conference is a free conference.
Right. So you just got to register.
Just register, 3iafrica.org, and participate.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, this has been a very interesting conversation. And I want to say more grace to your elbows and good luck for, this upcoming event. But then if you're out there and you want to participate, if you want to join, it's simple, 3iafrica.com.
Yes. Yes, and you can actually find us. So our partners, we're actually doing this with the Development Bank Ghana, and we have support from Elevandi. It is a subsidiary of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. That's a
Right.
Singaporean central bank
Okay.
that hosts the Singapore FinTech Festival. So you can go on any of our websites or go to 3iafrica.org
Right.
and you will see and register.
All right, thank you so much. So we've been speaking to Mr. Kwame Opong. He's the Director, FinTech and Innovation Office at the Bank of Ghana. And we've been speaking about the 3i Africa Summit coming on the 13th to the 15th of May 2024. Don't miss it. You better register now, unless you are going to lose, all right?